Yeah, I mean here we are. I will show you a bit what the double take availability is, how it works, and of course the most interesting bit is going to be the tech lab that I have prepared, where we can actually see the double take in a live or sort of live environment. It is of course a test environment, but I have tried to simulate an Hyperion environment that we would use in real life in my test environment. So we will take a look at that. So here it is briefly what double take is all about. This is the latest version that I will be showing you. It's version 7. It was just released a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it basically does the same features and functions as the previous version. It just adds a little bit extras on the admin side. It makes things easier and less complex for administrators. But what it does, it gives you a complete data protection and instant recovery from a server outage. And what that means, that it will take an entire server and it will actually sort of clone it to a second server. And that way, when something happens to your primary device, the secondary will take over the services. It's the changes that happen in your environment in real time are being replicated over on byte level. So only the changed files within Windows or your other operating systems, that is copied over, replicated. Which is good for the bandwidth, of course. Otherwise, it will have to be done file by file, and that's not the way you would want to do it. DoubleTake also makes sure that with this technology that they use, that you always will have access to your data, so you are safe from data loss. Obviously, in a real environment, there is a second or two when a device goes down that data is lost, but it's very minimal, and I believe that it's not noticeable, or at least in the environments that we use. Also a customer environment, we have done several tests on the production systems where we just simulate a real outage. We pull the power and let the DoubleTake do its magic, and it works perfectly. So this is a bit how DoubleTake functions, and I'm not sure if you have done any investigations regarding DoubleTake, Tommy?
No, not at this point.
Oh, okay. So it's basically, I will show you in the next slide how it functions in an environment, in a setup. What you typically have is your user base, your clients or users, and you have your server that you have protected with DoubleTake, and you have your second server that also runs DoubleTake. Now everything that is green, that is your production system. It runs all your applications and database, SQL, Oracle DB, whatever you put on there. And every time a file changes here, the DoubleTake software replicates it over to the destination host. And that can be a link between server 1 and 2 in the same data center using LAN, or it can be in a different data center over a WAN connection. It's all possible in this in the software package, and your users won't even notice that this destination host is there. They only know there's one server, and that is the device that they always log into and test their applications and run their systems. So the changes that are made on the source, they are replicated on the fly, live to the destination, and it's a service that is not impacted. The users are not impacted by it, so they won't even notice that anything is happening on the background. And what I will show you in the next slide is the tech lab that I have prepared for you, and it will make it will be a bit easier to show you in an environment how actually double take works. It's much easier to show you the functions of it, by showing you on a live system how everything is working together. Now what I have built is I have built an environment based on the previous slide. I have created one primary server that I have named DoubleTake01. I have given it an IP. It runs Windows 2008 R2, and I'm running HFM web on it. Since this is a VM, to make things easier for a presentation, I've kept it as a VM. It's in a LAN environment, and the changes are replicated over to a server with DoubleTake02 as a name, with the same operating system. And I have a client server that I will use to connect to these two machines later on to show you how everything works. So before I show you all that, it's maybe nice to know that the software that we use for the DoubleTake software, how it functions is that you actually take one server, you install everything on it that you would want to have. So your obviously your operating system, your applications, your databases, and you patch it, and you perform Windows updates, and you do whatever you want on it. So it's fully functional in a production environment. And on the destination host, the second server, the only thing you do is you install Windows and you deploy the DoubleTake agent. So you don't do anything else. You just do those two things on the destination host, and the DoubleTake software will do everything else for you. So that's a very nice feature. You only have one system to maintain. So in a maintenance schedule, for example, you only have to patch the primary server. You don't touch the second one at all. You don't apply updates or anything on it. Do you have any questions, Tommy?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, here we are logged in on one of my on the client machine that I've shown to you in the previous slide. And what the client machine actually has, it has the DoubleTake console installed, and with this console I can actually manage the two servers that I was talking about in the previous slide. So you can see them both here with the IP addresses that were on there as well. And further, what I have installed is my vSphere client, so that I can easily manage the two virtual machines in this demo. And obviously Workspace, which runs on the primary server, as you can see in this picture. And I will just show you quickly that that this is a fully functioning system. So I can log in, I can open an application, a demo application. It will take a bit longer than usual since it's a VM, but it loads, so you can see that it's a functioning server. It loads the application just fine, so that we have that checked off. And back to the DoubleTake console, what you do here is usually in the beginning you have to add your servers. So you add the servers you want to protect. You add your source and your destination server to the console, and you actually right click and you can install, which means you deploy the DoubleTake agent on the server. You don't need to configure anything additionally. Just make sure you have the firewall on the server switched off, just in precaution to make sure that nothing gets blocked. The agent doesn't get blocked. When both servers are installed, the most important thing is obviously to create a job, and you have many different jobs you can create. You have what we have used here is DoubleTake availability. It can replicate an entire server, so protect a full server, a cluster, or just an application, or even a folder. It's very versatile. And what we have done in this lab is we have done the full server protection. So we have protected an entire Windows server. It's very straightforward. You just click through it, you select the server, and you select the destination, and it will actually create the protection job. And in that protection job, when you have created it, what it will do is it will instantly start to replicate things over. So it starts copying the entire contents of the first server to the second server in the background, and you will all see that here in the console. It will give you a nice little progress bar. So until it's finished, you are not protected. So you need to have it, you need to let it finish, and it will give you a nice green icon here that it's all done and it's protected. And in case of an outage, you have nothing to worry about. So it's very, very easy to maintain. And what we have also done for another customer is with this software we have created a job like this, and also created another job to a third server which only protects the SQL databases, and that works really well, because then you can actually have one high available or a DR situation in one data center, and in case something really goes wrong, you actually have an offsite copy in a different data center, just with the SQL databases. So there's a lot of possible with the DoubleTake software, and I will show you now how that actually all works in practice. So we have the workspace system that runs on the first server as shown previously, and what I will do now, I will just log into the first server, and since the job actually monitors it, I will show it to you. It monitors the systems through a heartbeat signal, and for that heartbeat signal you obviously need to dedicate one of the network interface cards. And as you can see here, we do network monitoring, and we monitor only this IP. And if I go to the first server, it is this one. I have my primary system here. So this is the IP that's being monitored. This is my production interface. And what you also need is a second interface, which is a DoubleTake interface, and this is only used for monitoring for the heartbeat, and also to replicate all the changes over to the second server. So we don't actually monitor this interface. We are only interested in this one. If something happens with this interface, it will be noticeable in the job of the DoubleTake console, and it will try to fail over. Now you can actually fail over manually or untick it and make it fully automatic, so that in case of an emergency or an outage, the server will fail over on its own, and you won't even notice something happened, most likely. But we usually tend to leave this on a manual failover, just so that we can make sure that we can fully check all the running services and jobs, and start it and fail it over ourselves, because we also use different tools obviously to monitor the server. So we know most likely prior to double take that something is wrong, so we just leave this on manual. But you can do a lot with this. What this job will actually do, it will as I said earlier, it will sort of clone the server to a second one, and that's why these settings are all there. And we have enabled reverse protection in this test lab, and what reverse protection actually means is that it makes a copy of the second server, so the standby server, a copy of that on the primary, the active server, so that when you fail over, you can actually reverse the failover, so you can make the primary server the second one, and vice versa, so that you can make sure that in all cases you have one primary and one secondary. Otherwise it will get very confusing, and you are stuck with two primaries, and the second one is not there, and you have to create the job all over again. So for us it's important to leave this on, just so we can make sure we can always go back. Here's the bit about the mirroring, the synchronization part of double take. It mirrors different files. It uses block checksum, so it only does byte level and change files. And the rest is pretty much optional. It's not required to have this configured. The compression bit is nice, but it's only really handy when you are running double take over an internet, a WAN connection. So you can actually set it to maximum, for example. And what it will do, it will compress all the data prior to sending it through the other tunnel to the other side. And this will actually take some performance of the server. It's not much, but it maybe can take 10% CPU. But yeah, for a LAN environment where there's a directly attached gigabit connection, we don't enable this. You could do it, but it's not really required. Of course, you have your bandwidth throttling, which we don't use, since this is not one connection. And you can have your scripts that will be run before or after the job has filled over, and this could be handy in an environment where you run EPM to manually start and stop services, or start it after a failover or before. It's all possible. So this is actually the job that we will be testing now. And what I will do to simulate a failover is to disable the monitored network card on double take 01. The only downside of that is that we will have to wait a certain amount of time before we actually can fail over. So we will have to wait 5 minutes before we can fail over. I'm not sure if you would like to do it that way, or I can also do force fail it over. But it's maybe nice to see how the software functions on the configured setup.
Either way is good for me.
Okay, then I will just pretend as if our network card went down. And we can make the software do the rest. So I will go ahead and disable the production, the network, primary network card on the first double take server. It is down. Now what we see here is the servers are still idle, and they're still up and running. We can still connect to them. They're pullable because we actually monitor them on the other network card that is being used. But if we go to the job, as you can see here, suddenly the green OK check mark is gone, but it still says protecting. And what this will do, it will send a keep alive signal or a heartbeat signal every 10 seconds for the next 5 minutes. And if it's not back up within the 5 minutes, it will actually say the job is failed, and we will be able to fail over manually. So I will just leave it running for now, and what we will then see eventually in the double take console is that it will give us a message that we have the option to fail over, and it's already there, as you can see. But I just want to get the confirmation from the console itself. And if I just quickly go back to the slideshow while this is failing over. So this is our environment, and what will happen is, what you will see is when we fail over, currently this is the primary running server, and when we actually perform a failover, what the double take software will do, it will actually power off the primary server, and it will reboot this server and bring it back on as a copy of this one. And I will show that to you, and maybe we can speed this up a bit. I think it's already nearly there. But what you will see in the console, as you can see here, we have server 1 and server 2, and they both have a unique IP address. Now it's important just to keep an eye on this, because when we actually do the failover, I will show you what happens when they both come up, and these unique IP addresses, they will stay the same, but the naming will change in the server bit. Okay, so let's go to my vSphere client, and both servers are up here, as you can see, server 1 and 2. And what I will just do is, it's still protecting. I think I have the option now to fail over or cut over. And because it's on manual, it will not do anything as of yet. But if it was an automatic, it would have done the failover for us, which is nice in some environments, but as I said, you really want full control, because you might have a network hiccup, or you might be doing maintenance and forgot to disable double take, and you don't want to cause unnecessary rebooting or failing over, because it is a process that takes some minutes. In the first slideshow, they say it's a non-disruptive and instant recovery. Now that is of course on paper, because it needs time to actually recover on the second node. So it's not instant, but it takes a couple of minutes. And what we have tested in the other environments is that most likely up to 10 minutes is enough for it to fail over. And you can see here the job has an error now, and it actually says failover condition met. So it's ready to fail over now because it's been down for 5 minutes, and that is our threshold. So what we will do, because it's all a manual job, we will say failover, and in here you can actually say failover to live data, and if there's any data in the queue, because it keeps track of a queue with the changes, we will apply those changes, file changes first prior to failing over. We will do that, and I will just say failover, and then it will say failover command send, failing over. Now we won't see much here now, but if we go back to our server, it's actually powering it down. So there it goes. If we go to our vSphere client, and it's actually shutting down the entire machine. And obviously when you have something more serious, such as a power loss, it will not do this. It will instantly fail over to the second node. So, and it's saying now failing over 10%. So this this is a process where it does the following. If I just open the second server, you won't see much here now, but what it actually is doing, it's preparing the second server, and it goes pretty fast. It's already at 20%. It's preparing the second server to bring it back up as a full copy of the primary server that just went down. And with a full copy, I actually mean it thinks it is the primary server. So there's not actually a difference between the first and second. This is the new primary server. So it's copying data over in the background, and what it will do is, I think I can show you the job log file, which is actually interesting to see here. What it is doing now, it's preparing the system, so it's copying over all the system files. It's copying over the registry settings. It's preparing the server to to come back up as DoubleTake 01. And if we check the console now, we will notice the server 02 is idle and this one is down, so it's not able to pick it up. So we just have to wait until it's done failing over. And if you have any questions, Tommy, just interrupt me. You can fire away.
All right, let's go. You already showed the logging there just a moment ago.
Yes.
But how in practice you need to do the monitoring of the double take?
Yeah, what we usually do is we use different third-party software to actually monitor the servers individually. So we keep an eye on all the services, on network cards, on power supplies, on anything hardware related. And what the DoubleTake bit does, it actually also gives you a bit of monitoring. It's not something that I would recommend only using, but you have your notifications that you can actually set up. So if you would enable your notifications, you can actually make it alert you in case there is a warning, an error, or a change. This is really basic monitoring of the DoubleTake system. As I said, it's not something that I would only rely on, but it is nice to know that in case there is something wrong, you get a warning or an error, you get an instant email or alert. But obviously it's really recommended to use a different tool. We, for example, use WhatsApp from Ipswich. I believe that is Cisco these days, and with that package we can actually monitor the entire server, and yeah, before even DoubleTake knows or wants to fail over, we know something is wrong. And there's also, of course, services running that are DoubleTake related, and it's important to keep an eye on those. So there's an agent monitoring service and an agent service, and those two are important because they're the entire client or agent-based part of the software. So it is important to monitor those services as well on the machines. I hope that that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Have you got experiences with the S-base regarding the double-take failover?
I don't have any S-base experience myself, but is there a specific question you would like to know?
Well, actually, we've had some cases when the S-base clustering failover procedures have been run.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, when we are going to revert back to the original state, we need to kill the possible S-base service processes and the sessions from the original server before moving the cluster package back.
Yeah.
And there's always small danger of corrupting data when the failover happens with the S-base.
Yes. Yes, I understand.
So
yeah.
the kind of the question is that how does the double-take handles this kind of situation? And
okay. Yeah.
Is there a risk or?
Yeah, I understand. Well, I think it's important that to know that if you would want to implement such a double-take environment, that it is suggested or advised to use one server only. So you will actually not have a cluster. So it will run only on one server. And I think that actually it gets rid of most of the annoyances or problems that most clustered environments have, and with data corruption wise, because it's what we do with DoubleTake and environments that we actually implement it on is we use a single server solution only, so there's no clustering involved, and I believe that that does apply or actually makes a big difference in the question that you have. But yeah, since I don't have any S-base experience myself, I will double check this for you with one of my colleagues, just to check with him how this would actually work in an S-based cluster, and if it would mean or if there would be any data corruption in case of a failover.
Yeah, that's a good correction for the cluster question. These servers are, however, virtual servers.
Yes.
And the second one is replacing the first one. So maybe I should ask that, is there a risk that the servers would get mixed somehow where the processes are?
No, there's not. It's the second server is actually not doing anything at all. It doesn't run any services.
Yeah.
And I can show it to you now, because it actually failed over. But I have written down the S-base question that you have, so I will make sure to double check this with my colleague and get back to you via email. So it actually said here that it's filled over and both servers are gone now. What it does, it actually is booting up my second virtual machine, the second server, which will be the new primary. And I will show you what happens. So it fills actually everything over, services. It's a full copy, slash clone of the primary server, and the old primary, he's not really doing anything anymore.
So actually now the primary became a secondary server.
Yes, the primary.
Now you're going to make the replication to the original primary server.
Yes,
and you're not actually failing back at all.
No, exactly. I will show you what. Indeed, you're correct. That's exactly how it works. So my second server is now back up. It gives me a login prompt, and I will log in again. But there we go. I log in on the second server. And it gives me this because in this test environment I have not activated Windows. And it is interesting to see the following. I will just let it boot up the manager. There we go. As you can see here, my second server is now the DoubleTake 01 instead. So it assumed all the information of the primary server. It assumed the full computer name. It assumed the production IP. And what is important, it actually has all of the software that we run. So it actually has my HFM, my APM system that I have configured on it. So this is now the primary, and I cannot connect to this because it's down. It's not up at the moment. And what is interesting to know is if I would go to this address now, it's probably still loading. I'm a bit too fast. Yeah, it's still loading up the services. But what is interesting to know is that I can actually I can boot the old primary server up, and I will do that because it's powered off. So I will power it on, and I will show you what happens. Okay, it's booting up, and if I go here, and it takes some time before the console actually picks things up. So it's what I had the first few times is that I slightly got scared that the jobs might have been gone or the servers were not okay anymore, because I know it's up, I'm logged in, but in here it's not. But there's a slight delay of actually the system itself. So as you can see, it picked it up, but it's called, the server is actually called DoubleTake 01 now, but with the IP of the second server. So what it does, it takes over the identity of the primary, but his unique monitoring / heartbeat IP address actually stays the same. So let's see how far we are with the services. Okay, I think it's done loading. So if I would go to DoubleTake 01, which is now up and running, it loads nicely again my HFM web, and I can log in just fine, as if nothing really happened. And this only in a matter of a few minutes. So the second server actually has taken over the identity of the first one, and it loads everything. And the first, the old primary server is not really doing anything at the moment. It's when you power it back on, what it actually allows you to do, that in case of a real outage, you have time to fix the server, restore it, whatever you need to do in order to get it back up. You power it back on, and you will notice it in your DoubleTake console that there's a change. And as you can see here, everything runs fine on the second / new primary server. So if I take a look at DoubleTake 01, which is the original primary server, it's getting a bit confusing now with the names, but DoubleTake 01 is the original primary server. It's back up now. So if I would go to my royalty S and I say connect to the 01, it will log me in. And what you will notice instantly is something very interesting on the desktop. Let me actually show you this desktop. So this is the DoubleTake 02, which is currently the primary server. It has my workspace icon. It has my start EPM icons. And this is the old primary server, which will also give me this, but that's to be expected. And as you can see here, it has exactly the same icons. Now this is a bit confusing because this server is the active one, but this one actually has the exact same icons, and not just icons, it also has the exact same services currently running. Now that's maybe where your question comes in, because if I go to the running Hyperion services, they're all started. They're started, which means they're running, which means they're accessible, and there might be or could be data loss or something or anything related in regards to the databases. Since this adapter is still down that I disabled prior to failing over, I will power it on or enable it. And what the software will do for DoubleTake, see, it finds both servers online now. It has the original primary 01.1 and it has the new primary 01.2. And what the software of DoubleTake will actually do is make sure that any communication to and from the old primary server is not possible. So people cannot actually connect to it, data cannot be sent to it, it cannot be received from it. The application, it's all blocked on application level, and that's all being done by the DoubleTake service or agent service. So it's a bit confusing now because you actually have both primary servers online, but there's only one active, which is the current active server according to DoubleTake. And you can see here in the job log that it failed over and it's up and running on the second node now. And what you have, it's a different icon now, which is reverse. And what this actually does is it makes the old primary the secondary server. So it takes all the data and system settings and it clones it to it clones it as the old secondary. And if we do that, I will just go ahead and do that. And it will say reversing. And it will copy over files, registry settings, etc. And as you can see here, it's restoring again, and it will make sure that the old primary server is being brought online as the secondary node. So there will be nothing installed on it, and if you've seen the desktop that I showed you earlier on this server, the next time I log in, there will be nothing in here. It will be totally empty, no services, no applications. So that is how DoubleTick actually works. When you have done a failover, it gives you time to fix the server, or it's actually up to you how fast you want to fix it. When it's fixed, you bring the server back online, and you have both the nodes running under the same name. What you then have to do is you do a reverse, and it will make one of the nodes the secondary node again. And since we have failed over, it's obvious that the inactive node is being brought back up as the secondary server. So when it is done doing that, you actually have a situation where you have the secondary server running as the primary, and the primary running as a secondary. And that is how it works. And if you would want to go back to the initial situation, so that you have your primary server as running as the real primary, you would have to do another failover and another reverse, and that is actually how it works. So the entire process consists of one failover to get it running on the second node, one reverse to make the primary node the second node, another failover to fail over the data back to the primary, and another reverse to make the primary again the secondary. I hope that makes it a bit clear, Tommy. I know it's a bit confusing with all the reverses and the secondaries and primaries.
Yeah, I can follow the main process, but I'm still a bit confused about the details, how it actually happens. But I don't think that's so important at this point for me. More important is to understand and see how the servers work and
yeah. So it's actually the
how
software.
the process goes.
Yeah, I understand. The software itself actually does the application, the blocking on application level. So it makes sure that if both servers are up, that no data is being sent to and from the wrong server. So if both nodes are up as the primary, it makes sure that everything is sent to the correct server, and that gives you time to actually correct the situation.
And then you have only a couple of minutes, possibly data loss.
You have possibly, well, actually, if you are actually failing over, let's say you're in the middle of doing a job, you're running an application, and the primary goes down. From that point on, there's no data in the queue anymore. So the data loss is nearly minimal, since the primary server is actually down. You cannot update data, and what it will do, it will take a point in time sort of snapshot where you were actually doing something, and where it went down, and from that stage on it will bring it back up. So when it comes up, it will have the same data as that you were doing when it went down.
Yeah, I see.
So
sometimes users might be dealing with quite massive amount of data, in the sense that they are inputting figures a long time and then saving those, so they might be losing 10-15 minutes there.
Yes.
Half an hour, but that's feasible time, I think.
Yes, it's there. It takes some time to, of course, to bring the services over. In this case, I mean, it is a bit slower on the restoring side since I am actually using a VM. But if you would use this in a real environment, you would use teamed NICs with more speed, faster CPUs. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it all gets faster and faster. And for example, we've implemented this on a server that has 265 gigs of memory and 16 or even more 64 CPUs. So the time gets only less to fail over.
Is there any rules of thumb which we should know about the double take? For example, regarding the failover threshold, or can you set it basically anything?
You can set it to anything you actually want. They have on their website best practice settings for all sorts of environments, basically. So there are spreadsheets available to tweak it to your settings, but it all depends a bit on what you want. And what we usually don't change the 5-minute interval, because we believe that 5 minutes is a downtime of 5 minutes is enough for a real problem. So we usually don't change that interval, but we make sure that we leave it on manual just to have full control over what happens.
Okay, I see.
And that is something that I would suggest, to leave it on manual so you actually have full control over the entire failover process. That obviously makes it more trickier during for example during the night, if something happens during the night. But in our case that is really not a problem, because we have 24/7 standby support. So even if something happens with one of the environments that runs double take, we have to pick it up during the night. So it's not an issue. But if you would not have such a thing, and you would leave it on fully automatic so that it does the failing over for you, it is important to have the network 100% configured and correctly in place, so that there's no hiccups, that there's the heartbeat doesn't get interrupted by anything, or anything network related is really important in this case.
Okay, thanks, guys. That was all the questions I had in mind at this point.
Okay, well, I mean, Tommy, if you have any other questions regarding this, I mean, just let me know, and I will be glad to answer them for you. And there's just one more thing that I would like to show you, since it's nearly there. The last few percent should go by fast. Yeah, it's nice to show you what actually happens when you do a failover and the reverse, so that it actually brings you back to a situation where you have one primary server again and one secondary, and that is something which is very nice, and would like to show that to you. So it's actually restoring a node again now, and I believe, there we are. So it is actually rebooting the old primary server, and what it will do is it will bring it back up as the secondary server. So it will put you in a situation where you have initially again something that you had prior to an outage. You have one primary and one secondary server. It is just that they are switched over. And of course, if you have such a setup in an environment where everything is hosted in one data center, there's no real use to fail over and switch over after an outage. If something really happened and you failed over to the secondary node, I would just leave it running and make the old node the secondary again, just to avoid unnecessary failing overs and outages and everything. So it's back up now, and if I log into the old primary host, it will give me this warning, and there we go. There's an empty desktop. And if I open the computer properties, this server is now called DoubleTake02. So it actually failed over the server and brought it back up as a secondary node, which is very nice to see. And in your console now, this is going to take a couple of minutes for it to update, since it's starting the services now. And in the meantime, I will show you the following. If I open the services on this secondary node, it's still since it's a VM, it's a bit slower than usual. Let's see if it's up here again. Guess it's still booting up the services, as you can see. There it is. And the secondary node, the new secondary node should I say, has no Hyperion or any EPM related services running. So this is just a very basic server that I had in the very beginning, as explained in the slideshows. And as you can see here now, it's idle, and they switched roles. So the DoubleTake01 has the 2 and the 02 has the 1, and you are in a situation where you are actually where you have failed over and it starts to synchronize again. So from this point on, you can do everything you want again on your production environment. You can start your applications, you can change or add data, and everything will be synced over to the secondary server again. So in case of another issue or outage, you are pretty much safe with your data, and you would not have any loss. And there it goes again, it starts to synchronize. So from this point on, again, you are fully protected, and it only takes a couple of minutes to actually switch it back over, so you have fully functional protected environment. And that is basically how DoubleTake works on server level and on a full server protection job.
Okay, great. Thanks for the very informative presentation.
No problem, Tommy. I hope it was a bit useful to you to learn a bit about how the DoubleTake works. I know it's a bit confusing with all the naming and the IPs and everything, but it's basically how the package works, and it's a live tech lab basically. So it's the best way to actually show how the systems work.
I agree.
So I mean, I've written down your question about SBase, and I believe, as I said, since there's no really a cluster related, it will not be an issue. But I will make sure to double check this, since there's you have some questions or concerns about this, and I will double check it with you, and I will as soon as I have the answer, I will send you an email. And if you have any questions after this regarding double take, or would like to know more, just send me an email, and we can take a look.
Yeah, great. Thank you, guys. I think you already answered the space question quite well, and
yeah.
Let's see what your colleague says.
Okay. All right. Well,
review the question if it's obsolete or not.
Yeah. Okay. I will make sure to double check it and let you know.
Great. Thank you,
all
guys,
right.
and have a nice weekend.
Thank you for your time, Tommy. Have a nice weekend.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.